Hi, sir. So, I hope you're staying safe during these times and doing okay during the quarantine. Um, my name is Sarah, and my project was on, well, obviously, the first part was on liberalism and kind of how classical liberalism and reform liberalism are different and how they've changed over the years. And then the second part of my project was on, well, there was my sources, and then there was, I did on corruption, but focused it on Mexico. And so during my project, I don't really think any other social science courses helped me in this. I really think it was the news. Like, my mom watches the news 24/7, like 24/7. And so I watch the news a lot. She tells me everything that she hears because she has to bother somebody about it. So I now know a lot about the news. So I think that really influenced my project, like, especially when looking at liberalism. I wanted to see what was happening, like, now. And then even, well, not so much focused on Mexico, but for corruption, I didn't know what I wanted to do my project on. But when I hear all these things that are happening here and in the States especially, it makes me wonder, especially about corruption, because everybody knows it exists, but I don't really know stories, if that makes sense. So initially I wanted to do corruption in the FBI, but I couldn't really find any well-known sources. It was a lot of speculation, so I didn't want to write a project on something that might not have been factual. So I decided to focus on a country, and then I decided on Mexico, which of course has a lot of corruption. Yeah. So for my project, focusing on Mexico and corruption, I think I used a bit of history. Like, I used a lot of history. So I would say I used, my history course was in the background. I took a couple of history courses throughout Dawson. They weren't world history. They were Canadian and U.S. history. But I think it kind of helped me focus how to write the paper. And then in the back of my mind, I always was listening to my research methods teacher for sources, to find good sources that were to the point, because a lot of sources were like 40 pages long and didn't really say much. But yeah, and then for my conclusion, my whole paper, I found that corruption and democracy can't happen together. It's not a thing. Like, even though you might, like, technically Mexico is a is a democracy, but there is corruption. So it's not, because people of high power are controlling everything, like, backhandedly, and everybody seems to just accept it, because what can you do as a civilian? Like, if I was a civilian living in Mexico and I didn't bribe my police officer, or I didn't bribe whoever it was to do just, like, mundane things, I might not be here, because crime is embedded in the society that people could just get, like, shot at for, like, no apparent reason because of the gangs and everything, which is, I thought, would be an overreaction. I didn't expect it to be as real as when I was reading the articles. Like, I thought, like, okay, people get shut up in Mexico, like, all the time, and people get kidnapped and blah blah blah, but I didn't really think that's how bad it was. But it is, according to the articles I read, obviously. And then as I read about a few presidents who really wanted to change and ran on platforms about anti-corruption and everything, and then wound up being corrupt, because what's a president in power to do? Like, take shady deals from criminals and gangs and leaders that are very powerful, and then just look the other way. So that was kind of sad, but to be expected. And when I read an article and I found that people there was like polls about like what people thought of the society, and a lot of people were just like, it's corrupt, like it is what it is. And that was kind of like, okay, but why? And then again, like it goes back to the history of it, like it's been that way for a long time. And so in order to change it, just would have to have everybody involved. You can't just have a couple of civilians and a president. It would have to have everybody involved. And then the gangs and the drug cartels and everything, those would have to be abolished, because those are what run the country. So yeah, so it was really sad. But overall, I really did enjoy doing my project. I think it's something to always look at, and I think it's something always interesting to look at, like corruption in general and everything, because it's all around us. And then, but not many people talk about it, or a couple people talk about it, because it's kind of like a unknown. It's like taboo. It's like something everybody knows about, but like nobody really talks about, because what can you do about it? So I think in the future, it's definitely a subject to look into in other places as well. And especially what I'd be interested is in countries like maybe Canada that aren't known to be corrupt, but probably do have corruption in them, because Mexico is kind of known to be corrupt. But yeah, I think in the future for Mexico, I don't think it holds much promise unless people really like buckle down and decide to do something about it, and really like try to abolish the drug cartels and everything, because I think that's the only way it'll really change. And corruption in general, like anywhere, I think it's the only way it'll really change. And then people will have a true democracy, because people will actually have opinions, and that will help, like voting and everything. It won't be rigged, or people won't be shot if they vote for the other person, or if they do something, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that was my project. Thank you for listening, and I hope you're staying safe.